You can test your mic. Yeah. Just to make sure I put the batteries in the right way.
Testing.
There you go.
Okay.
No, you're not looking at two statues. We're actually real people here. So we've got about 10 people online. We'll get started in a few minutes. So bear with us. I'm looking at two statues. We're actually real people. And as usual, as we're going through the program, if you got questions, jot them down and then post them toward the end. We really do, because good questions get a good dialogue going. So don't be afraid to post your question. I won't call you out by name, but say them toward the end. Oh no, we lost a viewer.
Oh, no.
I must have scared them off.
I was going to say they don't want to ask questions.
Oh, they just came back. That's good. We're here in the church because we have the equipment to do it here in the church now, and I think it's a beautiful church, so it's always good to see that, and it's always good to be before the Blessed Sacrament when we're talking about the church. Why not be here? So I know Father Infante began this as the fireside chat. So our fireside is the tabernacle lamp. The candle is burning, so there's an actual fire here. And it also gives us more room to be socially distanced, and even though we're both masked. So let me give it a few more minutes, so I don't want to have to introduce you several times. But we do have a head of ministry with us, and I think that's what we're going to focus on. For those of you who do not know, Father Infante has asked me to kind of take the lead on this for the time being because he's a busy guy. He does a lot here, obviously, but he's also in a master's program at Villanova University that the bishop asks his parochial vicars to go through to help them prepare to become pastors. So that's taking up a lot of his time and effort. And he does an awful lot here, so I'm picking part of this up to give him a bit of break. He's also on retreat this week, so we still have to do something to his office because he's been gone, and that's normally what we do. So my thinking was to hide a dirty sock somewhere in his office and not tell him where it is. So if you see Father Infante, please do not mention that we hid or are about to hide a dirty sock somewhere in his office. So I hope he doesn't watch this. He's probably sitting on retreat with his phone looking at this right now. And he's probably one of the people that are on this. And if he is, don't worry, I'm just kidding. We're really not going to hide a dirty sock in your office. Not at all. So what we're going to do this evening, I have with us, and I'll introduce her in a few minutes, for those of you who don't know her. But what I wanted to do with this, for the next few sessions anyways, is to introduce you all to the many ministries that we have here in this parish. This is an incredibly dynamic parish. We have more than 40 active ministries. And even through the pandemic, these ministries have been going and still doing the good work of the Lord. And it's been a struggle. I'm going to be honest with that. It's been a struggle. But they're still working hard on it. So what I'm going to do for the next few sessions of these is to ask some of those heads of those organizations and ministries to come in, talk a little bit about the good work that they are doing, maybe give them an opportunity to give a pitch for additional membership or people to get involved, which is always good, just so you can see the great opportunities that are here to serve the Lord. The best thing that we can do for God is to say yes when He asks us. And so this is an opportunity into working with these ministries to say yes and to be active and involved and to help the good people of the Lord. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest tonight. Many of you probably already know her, although it's always hard to tell when people are masked. But I have Charlene Stahalik here, who is a very active parishioner. I don't think there's anything you haven't touched in the last couple of years, other than maybe the Knights of Columbus. Charlene is the head of the ministry, it's one of our newer ones here, called Ministry...
Disciple leadership.
Ministry Disciple Leadership, because we are all called to the ministry of discipleship. Each and every one of us, through our baptism, is called to be ministers and disciples, and to evangelize. You know, when the deacon or the priest sends people out after the end of Mass, one of the dismissals I like to use is go and announce the gospel of the Lord, because that's what we're all called to do, go out and be His disciples. So Charlene, why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of this ministry? It's relatively new. How did it begin?
Yes, well, it all started with the convocation in Atlantic City of Catholic leaders.
Okay.
Father Gormley asked 10 of us to go to the convocation and be a part of this new discipleship ministry. So that's how it started. And then since the convocation, we've done several different activities. Our purpose is to spiritually renew and refresh the church. So we've come up with different activities with that purpose in mind. Should I tell some of the things
Yeah, go
we've done?
ahead, please.
So one of the first things we did was Come Play with Jesus, where we invited children into the church on a Sunday afternoon, and we gave them a tour, took them in the back, showed them all the hidden places in the church, tried to instill in them an interest and answer any questions or curiosity that they may have had. And it was a good success. I mean, we had a small group, but the kids that were here really liked it. We gave out coloring books, and similar to what you did in your last Fireside chat with the tour of the church.
Right. But it was a tour geared to
kids.
To the kids.
Right.
And they had a blast. They were running all
Yeah.
through the church.
Yeah, playing the musical instruments, speaking
And the
there at the
microphone.
Alamo, so it was good.
And we wanted the reason for that was to make this feel like a home for them, that they didn't have to sit quietly in the pew the whole time, that this is their home. And I think it was a terrific success. I know all the kids had a blast, and it was a lot of fun for us who were here with them,
Yeah.
just to see them run around, and it was a good thing.
Yeah, so hopefully when this is all over, we'll be able to do that activity again.
Right.
And then for Pentecost, with the birthday of the church, we want to kind of, instill excitement and celebration. So we painted the parish red, asking everyone to wear red to Mass that Sunday. Outside, we had different posters and displays of the meaning of Pentecost and the gifts of the Holy with everyone growing deeper through a stronger prayer life, we had the Advent Prayer Challenge and then the Lenten Pledge. Our goal was to get 1,000 pledges. We didn't. We got around 600, a little more than 600 for each. Now, of course, the Lenten Pledge was cut short because of the
pandemic.
coronavirus. So we may have reached more. So I don't know how we can do that this coming year, if we can do it virtually, or if that will just have to wait until we're back to normal.
But you're thinking about doing something. This group is still continuing to meet.
Yes, we meet every month.
Planning and things that we can come up and. So what have you got coming up in the future?
Well, our current project, again, it has to be virtual. And so we're going, with the theme of discipleship. We are presenting a video series called Living as Missionary Disciples. And it's from the Catholic Apostolic Center website. And there's 4 videos, and we will present one video and then a few weeks later another. Again, as you said, we are all called to be disciples. And so this helps show us how in our everyday life we can become a missionary disciple. A lot of times we hear that and we think, oh no, they want me to go on the street corner and preach.
Go knocking door to door.
Yeah, and it's getting like, I don't want to do that. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about ways that we can individually grow deeper and stronger in our faith and closer to Jesus in order to be better disciples. So there's, as I said, there's 4 videos. Encounter, where it discusses our encounter with Jesus and our relationship with him. Accompany, community, and send. So the first one, obviously, is encounter, and that was posted last week in the flock notes. If you didn't see it, go and look. It's also on the website. And it's all the videos are very short. They're only 8 to 10 minutes.
Right.
And then there's also reflection questions on there that you can look at. So we ask each of you and your family to look at the video, look at the discussion questions, find out what it means to be a missionary disciple. It's not as scary as it sounds. I forget what I was going to say. In the first video, Bishop Cacciano, I knew I was going to mess up his name, from Bridgeport.
It's okay, I'm sure he'd mess up yours, so don't worry about it.
From Bridgeport, Connecticut, talks about what an encounter is. And he explains it as a meeting in a living, vibrant, personal, and loving way, the person of Jesus Christ. So, encounter, Jesus is saying to us, come and see. He's always reaching out to us. With being a missionary disciple, you can't bring Jesus to others if you don't already have Jesus in your heart. I just touched the microphone.
That's okay, you're forgiven.
I talk with my hands. And a lot of times people might think, oh, well, that's for non-Catholics or new Catholics. But it's not. It's for all of us because we're always growing in our relationship with Jesus. It's always changing and growing deeper. I know personally mine has changed over the years. And it's so much deeper and stronger now than it was before. I always thought I was a good Catholic. And I'm sure even for you it's changing all the time.
I want it to change. We can't stay stagnant.
Right, just like any relationship.
And if you look back at the early church, and if you read the Acts of the Apostles, which if you haven't, I strongly suggest you do, you can tell this excitement was growing around this new church. And there's great joy in all of these people coming together and to get this word out. And some did it by preaching, as you're right, and you listen, we're all okay to preach. Some maybe are better than others, but I think what really caught the attention of people were the excitement of the believers. And I think that's what we're trying to instill, is some excitement of the believers, and that in of itself creates a discipleship and a ministry with that discipleship.
Right, I think of you and when you tell us to be joyful.
Right.
Not
rejoice, rejoice. We Catholics have to work on that. We really do.
Yes, we do.
You know, it's, we're have this ingrained in us that we're supposed to be so quiet and not be bombastic. But sometimes we've got to be bombastic. Sometimes it's a, you know, let the Spirit move you.
Yep, that's what we have you for.
Well, hopefully I don't do that all the time. So talk a little bit about what happened at this convocation. Now, I was there, and it was wonderful. I mean, everybody's heart was on fire after that. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes,
So talk a little bit about that experience. What did we go through?
Yes, it was a wonderful experience. It started out with Mass, and the music throughout the whole week was just beautiful. It's just so moving and you know, gets you into the spirit. And then what we also had was we had different workshops that each one of us went to a different workshop every day. And there were 4 days of workshops, I believe, and they were on different ways that we can renew and refresh the church, ways to reach out to the people that, you know, feel marginalized, work with technology. You know, who knew how important technology would be a year and a half later?
Right.
Different speakers, guest speakers, and at night, different entertainment programs. You know, doing a Congo line to religious music. Who knew you could do it?
I really can't see Father Gormley wanting that happening at the 11:30 Mass.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
You know, renew and refresh.
Renew and refresh.
And so it was truly, it's almost indescribable, the words, the way it just touched you. And being with 800 people that had the same strong faith
From
as you
all
did.
over the diocese,
Yeah,
every parish was represented.
It was, you know, people all ages, and it was truly moving. And you really did feel that fire, and that you wanted to come back and, you know, change the whole world. And we also had a mini retreat.
I was going to go there next, so
Yeah.
why don't you talk a little bit about
Yeah.
the mini retreat?
So when we came back, we wanted to spread that fire. We wanted everybody here to feel what we felt, the excitement and the joy of the gospel. And so we had a mini retreat here for the various heads of ministries, and I guess it was about 40 people or
Right.
so. And Donna from the diocese, she's in charge of the disciple leadership office, I guess.
Yeah.
And she led it in the first part, and with different stories, and she was leading us to tell our own story. And a lot of us felt like we didn't have a story. And I know a lot of people coming in, because I had some pre-reading to do, were like, well, I don't have a story. And I remember first thinking, I don't have a story. You know, I don't have a big conversion moment. I was always a Catholic and slow and steady, and it's gotten deeper and stronger. But I felt like I didn't have a story, but we do. That's my story. My story is slow and steady. You know, it's just as important as a person with a big conversion moment. And so then after Donna spoke, we broke into small groups, and we went through a series of questions where people saw, hey, I do have a story. And then we got back together as a group, and we shared some of them. And I know after that, I think people in that group felt that fire. And they wanted, you know, to do more. And we wanted to follow up on that and have, you know, more. Maybe we can do different groups, 40 at a time or so. It has to be small so you can get in that small group
Right.
of 8 and 10, because that's where the sharing happens, in the small group. People aren't going to stand up. Some people aren't going to stand up in front of a large group and share without going through that small group first. And again, the pandemic hit. So I know we do want to continue with that, because that helps build that fire.
And I think that what the group also wants to do is to partner with all of the other ministries in the parish. I know that there was some maybe possibly misunderstanding or misconstruing what this group is doing. It's not to come in and show people how that they should be doing their ministry. It's not that at all. What this is a group that is there to be a resource, I think, and to help charge. And so since we're all called to be disciples and we're all called to be evangelists in some way, maybe this group can work with each of the ministries to do discipleship. Right now, tonight, we're just starting to get back into the Command Center because of the pandemic and some of the restrictions. And we have our crochet ministry there this evening.
Oh,
and
good.
they're all socially distanced, far apart. We're going to disinfect. They're all masked. But, what can the crochet ministry do in line with getting the word of Christ out? Because it's a wonderful ministry. They do great work there. And I'm just picking on the crochet ministry because, as I said, they happen to be across the parking lot right now. But that's what I think this group is charged to do, is to work with those ministries.
Right, because even though we are 40 different ministries, we're still one church.
Right.
And there are things that we can do together to help strengthen each of their ministries. And they can help us as well. Give us ideas and suggestions on ways to reach out.
To get some dynamic workflow back and forth among the ministries, which I really think, to some degree, we do pretty well here. Hasn't been able to because of the pandemic. Everybody's been kind of, what can we do? What can we do? And we have to start thinking outside because the work still needs to be done.
Right.
The discipleship still needs to be done. The evangelization still needs to be done. This is the world we live in right now, so how do we do that? So is your group doing any kind of conversation about that?
We're always talking about and coming up with, different ideas. What can we do? Because another thing is we were thinking of bringing in a well-known author to do a talk for us, and of course, that fell apart. I think for a while there we were struggling because we were thinking of in person. Oh, we can't. Right. So that's why this video series hopefully is a way to get everyone in the church to think about discipleship without having an in-person activity. Maybe it could lead to dialogue on Facebook.
Which I think this group does pretty well. One of the things I get a kick out of, because we live stream every Mass, is before Mass begins, there's people on there 10 minutes ahead of time. They're saying good morning to each other.
Yes.
It's actually kind of a community they built among this group who never see each other because they're in their homes, but to them it's community. And to them, within that community, they're interacting and being disciples, but there's at least maybe 30 people watching live stream Mass at the time, but by the end of the day, there's 300 people who have seen that Mass. But they also see those comments. They see that community. They see people praying together, which keep it up. It's terrific. And that's the kind of thing we should be thinking about.
Yeah, I enjoy reading the comments too.
Yes. So,
and it is a sense of community.
And it's okay to say good morning to the deacon and not just Father, because I'm here every day. I may not be on the altar, but I'm here every day.
I see people say good morning, Father, good morning, Deacon.
Yeah, only Ann Kohler. Thanks, Ann. So she's the only one. And not to make this all about me. So what other teases do you have coming up? Because we are looking to get some more involvement.
Yes, so over the next few weeks, look in the bulletin. There'll be different ideas of ways that you can personally have an encounter with Jesus, ways that you can, increase or deepen your prayer life. So that'll be, like I said, we'll be probably doing that for 3 or 4 weeks before we do the second video accompany. But while we're still on encounter, we have coming soon an unexpected encounter.
Ooh.
And that's all I can say right now. So
an unexpected encounter that might involve a pastor who has certain skills?
I don't know. How much are we supposed to tease?
I think we just tease it like that for now.
Yes, exactly.
Just, there are things up and coming.
Yes, so pay attention, We'll give you plenty of heads up. You won't want to miss it.
Okay. So what else can you talk about this ministry, or we covered everything?
Pardon me?
What else can you say about this particular ministry, or have we covered everything?
Our first leader, I would like to give a shout out to Juanita Woodland.
Juanita's wonderful.
She is wonderful. She did a wonderful job as our leader. I have big shoes to fill, but I know she'll
So you're
guide
saying
me.
Juanita has big feet?
She has petite, tiny feet,
Okay,
actually.
good.
So what's another analogy we could use? I have a tough act to follow.
There you go. That's a good
I have
one.
a tough act to follow. But she's wonderful. So she got us up and running, starting from nothing.
Right.
And it's funny because when Father called me, I was in the checkout line at ShopRite. And so he's asking, telling me about the convocation in New Jersey, and they're Catholic leaders in Atlantic City. So, what does any good Catholic schoolgirl do when Father asks? Yes, Father.
Yes, Father.
As I said to the group when we first met, I have no idea what I was agreeing to. But then I found out everybody was in the same boat. We all said yes, not really knowing what this whole convocation and disciple leadership was about. And for Juanita to take it from nothing to all those activities that I said we did is just amazing, I think.
And Juanita was also a big believer in telling her story, and for each of us to tell our stories, which is what evangelization is.
It really is.
It is, it's not always standing out on a street corner preaching. It's being open to each other and telling your family and friends why this is so important to you. That's evangelization, and we don't do enough of that. I think we Catholics are so ingrained to sit quietly in the pew and be talked to, and we'll let you know when you can participate, which is not true at all. It's not the way it's supposed to be at all. So I think people need to get comfortable telling their story, and that begins in small steps. Tell your best friend, why do you love Christ? Have you ever had that conversation with your best friend? It took me a while to be comfortable saying that and talking like that to my family and friends, and to some degree I'm still at times uncomfortable. Have you had that same experience?
I'm extremely uncomfortable. It's so funny because here and in the ministries I've been involved with, I feel like I think that's one of the things I've loved about getting involved is I can speak freely and everybody feels the same way and they all understand. And my family is all Catholic and they go to Mass, but we don't talk about it. And I want to be able to talk about it more freely. And, not so much on my soapbox, but more as a natural part of the conversation with people. And I hope that's what we can do. And again, I think sometimes we want to jump to the end, where we're all talking to everybody, everywhere we go all the time. And it can't be like that. It has to start small and baby steps. And so I think even with the mini retreat we had with the heads of ministry, I think that opened up the doors for more talking about our faith and our story. And so it has to grow. And I think, again, jumping to the end, wanting to get there, I think we have to enjoy the journey.
Right, because that's what this is all about. It's the end, hopefully, is eternity with Christ.
Right. When I say the end, I just mean being able to talk freely.
Right.
And because that is something I struggle with, because I think about that time, why can't I talk more about it to other people instead of just, and it's funny, I have cousins in Florida and Georgia that are very open and, God bless you, and some of them have gone to the other side, born again Protestants, but they speak freely. Not all of them, but they speak freely and open, and it's just wonderful to see. And I'm more of a shy, quiet person anyway. That's my natural personality, so it would be hard for me anyway, but I want it to be just more natural. And
Well, I'm
you
going
know?
to tie back on that to something you were involved heavily in before, Stephen Ministry. And we'll have Deb and Tom Walheim here to talk about Stephen Ministry, but you were actively involved in that. But when I went away for training for Stephen Ministry, not to get too off the track here, but Stephen Ministry is a Christian ministry. It's not Catholic, it's relatively non-denominational, but it's people who are highly trained, walking with other people who, for whatever reason, are struggling. And if you're one of those people and need a Stephen minister, call to give them a bit of a plug. But during the training, we were there with, at least my group, we were there with a lot of people who were Protestant. I was in my small group, and we were paired up with prayer partners. And I was paired up with a Presbyterian minister. Great guy, terrific guy. And so every morning we would begin in prayer. And so we Catholics are very good at reading our prayers. Hail Mary, Glory Be, and the Our Father, and those are terrific prayers. But what we lack, I think, is this sense of spontaneous prayer, of just centering ourselves and talking to God and asking God for whatever. So I think we Catholics have to get more comfortable in doing those things. And I always get a kick, and you may recall this, at Stephen Ministry, I would always pick on a Stephen minister and say, okay, it's your time to pray. And you get, oh, yeah. And I think the same thing is with telling our story. But the more everybody did spontaneous prayer, the better they got at it, and the easier it was. And then, now, I'm not going to do it to you, but if I were to say, okay, Charlene, why don't you close in prayer, you would be able to do that without getting sweat beads.
Yep, definitely much easier.
And I think it's the same thing about telling our story. Once you start, it's real easy, and it could be anywhere from, I go to Incarnation Church, this is why. This is what I get out of it, or things of that. But we're not to keep, as Jesus said, our light under a bushel. We're supposed to let the world see this light of Christ. So
maybe that's why I'm here, learning how to do it here in a small, safe group, so then I can go further.
It's just you and me and Pat in the control room. But talk to your family, talk to your closest friends. They're not going to judge you, and they already know anyways, but it gets you in a comfort level where you can spread the message, because that's what you're asked to do. It's what I'm asked to do. It's what we're all asked to do. I mean, we have this wonderful God who wants to have deep relationship with each of us, to better us, not to better him. So, all right, so what else is going on with this ministry?
I think we've covered it all, Deacon.
All right. I think once, maybe when the pandemic starts to loosen up, and as I said, I'm going to be speaking to all the other heads. I'm going to put them on the same spot I'm putting you in. We can talk a little bit about maybe how we can interweave all of this, and so the Knights of Columbus, who do fantastic work here, God bless them. Think about evangelization as they're evangelizing, they do great work, but think about how they can evangelize a little bit better and what their ministry is. And I'm not picking on the Knights, but same with Stephen Ministry or any of the others. So I'm going to open it up for questions. If you have some, go ahead. Rose Prestopino is watching.
Hi, Rose.
Hi, Rose.
Hi, Rose. I wave to you. I miss you, Rose.
I do. I miss everybody. That's the hardest thing about this, is not seeing people. And so Rose, God bless her, was one of our volunteers. And every Monday she'd be sitting at the reception desk, ready to give me grief because we didn't use the confiteors, the penitential rite, because I think Father Infante told her one time, the deacon picks, whether we do that or the other one. And the deacon does not pick. He does what the celebrant says. So, all right, any questions about this ministry? Well, while we're waiting, I'm going to do the pitch, and I didn't bring products over because I figure you all know what chunky soup looks like. But if you don't, imagine I'm holding a can of soup in my hand. We need chunky soup for the pantry. We'll even take chicken soup this time before we're asking for beef, but we'll take whatever you have. We need vegetables. We need canned vegetables. The shelves are pretty bare on that. We need crackers. We always could use crackers. And I know I am forgetting one. Oh, chili. We could use chili as well. Anything in the can that we can get out. The pantry's been doing great work. Every day, people are pulling up and dropping off food in the shopping cart that's outside the office and playing ding dong ditch, ringing the doorbell and running away and leaving food, which is terrific. Because our pantry use is getting more and more and more as this goes on. So please continue to be generous. Again, we need canned vegetables. We need chunky soup. We'll even take chicken. We need crackers and chili. So, and anything else, pasta's always good, sauce is always good. And even if you think of it, treats, because we're giving this out to families too, and it's always good to have a cookie from time to time. So just don't give them if you're going to give them a can of string beans, let's give them a nice thing too. So, all right, see if we have any questions. If not, we're going to wrap this up because I haven't had dinner. And I don't see any. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Would you like to close in prayer?
Yes, I have our discipleship prayer right here.
See, look at that. She's being a good Catholic, and she's reading the prayer from a page, which is fine too. That's always good to do.
Well, I was thinking about that because I knew you would ask me.
Why would you know that I would ask you?
From the years of Stephen ministry and all the trainings you did with us. But so I knew I had to say a prayer, and I thought, well, we're trying to get this discipleship prayer going. Patty has it in the bulletin for us.
Right.
So I thought I would say that. I would kind of cheat tonight.
Which is another thing. We can't hand out the bulletin, but it's online. Go to our webpage. Our webpage is very active. There's a lot of information there. If you haven't signed up for Flock Notes, sign up for Flock Notes. You can do it on the webpage, and every Friday you will get this Flock Note, which emailed to you or sent to your phone, I think it can be as well, explaining what's going on in this parish. Even though we're shut down in some areas, we're very active still in others. So go ahead.
I love reading the bulletin every week. I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm like the nosy person. I want to know what's going on. But as you say, we are active and there are things happening, and I love reading it.
Yep.
So, okay. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
Amen.
Loving God, I thank you for choosing me to be your disciple and for the gift of your Son, Jesus. Help me proclaim and bear witness to the gospel by word and deed today and every day. Open my heart to the outcast, the forgotten, the lonely, the sick, and the poor. Grant me courage to think, to choose, and to live as a Christian, joyfully obedient to God. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
All right, Charlene, thank you so much.
Thank you, Deacon.
Well, it's my pleasure. So, all right, folks, we'll see you. And now Pat could stop